Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Through this new lecture series, and the objective in my mind is to share legal knowledge with persons concerned with legal fraternity, particularly who are aspiring to appear for any competitive examination for the positions of civil judges cum magistrates, additional district and session judges, and particularly students of law who are also having in their course outline paper of constitution law, probably it is in the third year. This idea struck to my mind, especially in this arena of COVID-19, when the people are observing social distancing, new methodologies and standard operating procedures are being adopted even by the universities by introducing online courses for their students. So today I have taken into consideration famous judgment known as Mehram Ali case, reported in PLD 1998, Supreme Court 1445. Precise background necessary for this discussion is that in the year 1997, and at that time Anti-Terrorism Act of 1997 was already in vogue and operative. Allegedly, the petitioner Mehram Ali was held responsible for causing massive killings in the premises of District Courts Lahore against the persons of opposite sect, because in those days sectarian killing was in rife and numerous such like incidents were being committed in a very brutal and gruesome manner. However, when this Mehram Ali accused was arrested and tried by then Special Judge Anti-Terrorism Court, he was awarded conviction and sentences for on 23 counts, because there were as many as 23 deceased persons. Similarly, 55 other had also sustained injuries. So besides Section 7 of the Anti-Terrorism Act meant for these kind of horrible, heinous offences, this accused was charged under the provisions of Explosive Substance Act 1908, Illicit Arms Ordinance 1965, and other coordinate provisions contained in Pakistan Penal Code, particularly under Section 324, because of the injuries sustained by many persons. After this award of death penalty on 23 counts, he filed an appeal or a writ petition before the Honorable Lahore High Court, and the appellate court, as postulated under the ATA. His case was heard. Although death penalty to the extent of 3 deceased persons was kept intact, whereas for remaining 20 deceased persons, since neither their post-mortem reports were produced nor the doctors who had conducted the autopsy of those 20 deceased persons were produced as witnesses. So for those 20 deceased persons, the conviction sentences was set aside, and with this modification the judgment was rendered. Similarly, the Honorable High Court also took into consideration certain other provisions with regard to some of the provisions contained in the Anti-Terrorism Act. Thereafter, and in the interregnum, some petitions for incidental reliefs were also prayed for. Ultimately, the 5-member bench was constituted. One honorable judge was disagreeing, but an authoritative and exhaustive judgment was ultimately rendered by the 5-member honorable bench of the Supreme Court of Pakistan, when this was challenged. The judgment rendered by the Honorable High Court by constituting that appellate tribunal was rendered, as I have referred supra. What is required to be minutely examined and analyzed through this honorable esteemed judgment, particularly for the students. However, they are at liberty as far as their own experience is concerned. If somebody is planning to appear for the forthcoming examination of additional district and session judges, so he can go through it with the other supporting judgments in a more elaborate manner. For civil judges and magistrates, they can grasp it according to their own requirement. However, the student of final year of LLB can examine it to the level of their perception and conception, which is actually as required in their course outline. Before further embarking upon the peculiar features which were taken into consideration by the Honorable 5-member bench, when this judgment was rendered, it was made clear that whatever earlier the trials have been conducted under the original provisions of Anti-Terrorism Act, and convictions have been recorded, that cannot be invalidated through this judgment. On the one hand, those cannot be termed to be invalidated, being past and closed transactions. So the saving clause was also mentioned in the final portion of this judgment. However, through this judgment, the lot many provisions were taken into consideration, like 5 subsection 2 of the Anti-Terrorism Act, wherein it has been stipulated that when impending any terrorist act and threat, the law enforcement agencies, whether police, armed forces, military forces, they can resort to firing against this terrorism, but there should be all the precautionary measures shall be taken so that any innocent person could not be killed in this respect. Further, then on the touchstone of Article 2A Article 175, which ensures the separation of judiciary from the executive. As well as under Article 203 of the Constitution of Islamic Republic of Pakistan, which provides a guideline for having the superintendence of the subordinate courts of all the, like even the special court established under the Anti-Terrorism Act, as well as the district and session courts and all the subordinate judges for their superintendence and control. There is Article 203, but 175 is with respect to its independence. When firstly, the very important feature is with respect to substituting the word appellate tribunal for hearing the appeals as provided under the provisions under 1997 Anti-Terrorism Act. So that would be by the High Court. Judges, honorable judges are of the High Court, but the nomenclature is not to be prescribed. And 15 days time would be the limitation period for filing appeal as contained in the relevant provision. Similarly, there are other very important provision, section 10, but through this very judgment, a kind of recommendations have been suggested to the government, to the legislature, for amending these sections. Therefore, these petitions, along with some other collected petitions, were disposed of, while the conviction and sentence of Mahram Ali was kept intact, despite the prayer of learned counsel for the petitioner, where with vehemence that because of some irregularities committed by the learned trial court, the conviction and sentence should have been set aside. But Honorable Supreme Court did not agree with the submission of learned counsel for the petition, particularly keeping in view the surge of such like Anti-Terrorism Act and the human loss suffered in this very incident. So it was held that merely on technical grounds the petitioner has not a fit case for taking any lenient view. But as I have said, these sort of recommendations, and the main focus of the Honorable Supreme Court was, even at that time, although subsequently some other judgments were rendered by the Honorable different benches of the High Court. The foremost in this regard is that of Bisharat Ali, reported in PLD 2004, Lahore, page 199. Although in that very case, the moot point was the assumption of the jurisdiction, whether the case is triable by the Special Judge Anti-Terrorism Court because of applicability of Section 7 or by the ordinary court. So again, at that time, this aspect of the matter was also taken into consideration for what purpose and objective this anti-terrorism courts have been established as contemplated under Section 6 of the Anti-Terrorism Act. So that is, political, religious and ideological objective. Because sectarian is also falling in that category. So this was also prior to that very judgment reported in 2004 PLD 199 in Bisharat Ali case, and subsequently even on the same lines some a very authoritative judgment has also been rendered by the Honorable 7-member bench of the Supreme Court of Pakistan, which is reported in PLD 2020 Supreme Court 61, bearing title Ghulam Hussain, etc. In a very recent past, and I have also separately discussed on that. But as I have said, different segments of the legal fraternity can go through this very judgment with some modification, not only with respect to its original text, content and tenor, but for their own illuminating of their minds and requirement, and with the support of some other judgments, as I have referred my perception. Because if somebody intends to appear for the examination of additional district and session judges, so its requirement is different. As I have started my career back in 2004 after switching over from advocacy to judgeship in that capacity, every candidate has to should have in his credit at least 10 years standing as a lawyer and the age bracket 35 to 45. But for the lower strata of civil judge and for practicing purposes, maybe they can, although they should go through all these relevant statutory laws and case law with the passage of time. So again I revert back to this the tenor of this very judgment. It has also been held that no accused shall be convicted in absentia. So the existing provision under the Anti-Terrorism Act, that's section 19 of subsection 10B, and because terming it in violation of Article 10, because it postulates and guarantees fair trial to every person. The fair trial in the Constitution is not only meant for the accused, but also it caters the need of the complainant party. So no one should be condemned unheard. So complete opportunity be granted to both accused and complainant to come up before the court with their respective version and whatever is their case and plea that can be taken. The other very significant aspect is with respect to confession, because in earlier police officer not below the rank of deputy superintendent of police and any accused who has been arrested by the law enforcement agencies for the commission of the offences under Anti-Terrorism Act shall be deemed admissible piece of evidence. But the Honorable Supreme Court has recommended in a very vivid manner, in a very crystal clear term, that the word Deputy Superintendent of Police shall be substituted by the judicial magistrate. So this is another safety valve has been provided so that complete justice, particularly in accordance with the canons and principles of criminal justice, be ensured. And because it militates and impedes the actual purpose and objective which is contained in chapter 2 of relating to the fundamental rights, wherein nobody can be arrested without any justifiable reason. If arrested, due process of law shall be observed. The dignity of every citizen shall be protected. Everybody is equal before law, as postulated under Article 25 of the Constitution of Islamic Republic of Pakistan. Under Article 8, it has been envisages that even the law which is against the public interest, that can be struck down, and his dignity and respect under Article 9, 10. So likewise, in this, on the same analogy, the other provisions regarding other provisions of Anti-Terrorism Act, a very exhaustive deliberation and discussions were made by the Honorable Supreme Court of Pakistan in this judgment. That is with regard to Article 24, 25, 20, 27. Because I have already referred, nexus shall be the sona qua non as postulated under section 6, 7 and 8 of the Act. So as far as the 35 section is concerned, militate against the concept of independence and is also violative Article 175 and 203 of the Constitution. Therefore, it needs to be amended as the part to frame rules. So in the original section 35 of the Anti-Terrorism Act, it has been referred that any federal government or any provincial government can frame rules under the Anti-Terrorism Act to further execute the purpose and preamble of this act. But it has been recommended through this judgment that the rules shall be framed by the respective High Court. So this is, and rules to be vested in the High Court to be notified, but shall be notified by the government. Similarly, regarding section 14, which is with respect to security of the tenure of the presiding officers, although to my comprehension, when from the lawyers in those days, the judges were directly appointed by the government as special judges, Anti-Terrorism Court, but not they were not taken from the regular. But so on, the situation was remained changeable time to time. But I am here concerned with the security of the tenure of the judges of the special court in consonance with the concept of independence of judiciary, because it also militate if there is no security of the tenure, the special judge Anti-Terrorism Court, and it is amounting to militating the concept of independence of judiciary. So if the tenure of the judge is not secured, so how can he perform his duties with complete dedication, devotion, and with earnestly. 31, now let me refer here sections 31 of the Anti-Terrorism Act, which provides finality of the judgment of the special court subject to result of an appeal. But because it has been until it has been that appeal is decided, it would not be termed to be the final judgment which has been rendered by the trial court. Means Islamic Republic of Pakistan to the Constitution is not whittled down and remains available against the judgment order of the appellate court. In this regard, so further there is another provision under section 16, which is also kind of very specific and special provision as far as taking of oath by the presiding officer is concerned. Was every presiding officer is bound to take oath while with the commencement of the trial of any accused of or any case. But it has been recommended that no such like separate direction are in the original section contained in Anti-Terrorism Act 1997. If the presiding officer is a non-Muslim, so there should also be a proper mechanism. Whatever faith that non-Muslim judge is following, he should have take oath according to his own faith. Whatever, if he is a Christian, so he will take oath on Bible. If he is a Hindu, because Hindu are also, judges are also in particularly in Sindh area. amendment shall also be made on this score for taking oath by the non-Muslim judges. No one should be, maybe I have earlier referred, no accused shall be tried in absentia. But it is again for the sake of even repetition, which is very important. Through this judgment, although the recommendations have been proposed as I am discussing, but it has been held in a very conclusive manner and authoritative manner by the Honorable Supreme Court of Pakistan, that by declaring ultra vires the provision, the trials conducted by such courts have been declared as having been vitiated, having quorum non juris, and this would not be the situation in this. That is a close, and it is not very much relevant, although some other petitions were also being clubbed along with this petition, like that of blasphemy accused Yusuf Ali, and likewise. But here we are only concerned with this provisions contained under Anti-Terrorism Act 1900. It is pertinent to mention here that some other provisions were also taken into consideration with the recommendation they be substituted, and their objective should also be inserted, mainly with respect to the substitution of appellate tribunal as mentioned in the original text in the relevant provision by the High Court, so that the matters and the appellate jurisdiction shall be heard and disposed of by the Honorable High Court. So in this regard, it has also been highlighted that the punishment for defective investigation shall also be looked into by the High Court and the respective court at that time. But as far as when the matter is challenged before the Honorable High Court in this background, so transfer of cases, if a case is being transferred from one special judge anti-terrorism court to another learned judge for any good reason, that shall also be dealt with by the Honorable High Court of respective High Court. If similarly, suggestions have been made under Section 30. As similarly, the scenario like as regarding defective investigation, there is a provision of contempt of court. So if the contempt of court, as far as court is concerned, that is trial court. But for appellate purpose, if somebody being aggrieved of for the award of punishment by the trial court on account of contempt of court, if allegedly any person, either he is accused or complainant or any unconcerned person, he may be the relative of any accused and is trying to scandalize the court and passing contemptuous remarks and ridiculing the presiding officer for ulterior motives. However, if any appeal is preferred, that would also be dealt with by the Honorable High Court under Section 37. So I have not. Nexus is the sine qua non. As far as Mehram Ali case is concerned, it was a certainly fit case, falling within the domain and powers of the Anti-Terrorism Act. Although on other scores, the Honorable Supreme Court was gracious enough to encompass its whole scenario, to take into consideration the all the provisions contained under the Anti-Terrorism Act. These are because it's after a long time I have to go through this judgment. I had, when I was preparing for the exam, in the year 2003, I had the opportunity to go through these judgments. But now again, I am also performing my duties as a special judge anti-terrorism court, and above all, it is my own passion. So I consider it a sadka jariya. Whatever we understand a little more than other lawyers and the judges and are the particularly junior colleagues, so I consider it would not be justification and any good reason, valid reason with us. So if God has blessed us, the power of expression, the power of speaking, and with the brain, this is all, blessing of Almighty Allah. Our use of our faculties, power of seeing, power of hearing, power of speaking, power of, understanding the psyche of others, to keep ourselves on the right track, on the right path. This is also, blessing of God. So whenever I consider this aspect of the matter, and particularly, this is we are undergoing a new phase of life. Not only we Pakistanis, but people living on the globe, they are under the threat of COVID-19, and the pace of court work is also not in that regular manner. So one should definitely take benefit. So I would also suggest to my friends of my level, district and session judges, they should also come forward. तो जैसे वो एक शेर है कि ये दावत आम है गालिबन अहले नुक्तादां के लिए. So this is, they should also come forward. This at least what we can do in this situation. At least whatever was our experience being lawyers or being judges, or after spending different periods, whatever we have learned, a little more than our incumbents in the profession. So we must share our experience with them. So I hope any error or omission shall be excused, and pray for me. God should give me this fortitude and strength to fulfill my passion and share legal knowledge with my friends. Thank you very much.